What up? Welcome back to the pod. We got your boy right here, Uncle Don Don, and I am joined by corporate Keith Lee right now. Is that?
Corporate Keith Lee is crazy, but it's Mr. Qualified, per usual.
Yeah, I like this fit though. I got my comfortable, cozy fit on, so I'm cold in Chicago. This is what it's giving right now. Hopefully, by the time this airs, it's warm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you how many pieces of poetry you was gonna give us today.
What the hell up? Donald the poet.
What would be your stage name?
I never had a stage name, but I started writing in college. Um, I started writing in college and I had this book and I called it Ink Therapy. So now all of my books that I write in, which now is basically like journaling conversations with myself, is called Ink Therapy. But I performed at undergrad. We was at the Shack. By that time, we had the Shack. Yeah, so
Look,
I don't know what my name would be though.
hey, we can. Anyway,
uh, Job interview Keith Lee is just like it's killing me right now though.
only because of the context. Because I'm off today. That's the only reason this all is even weird. But
This is funny.
it's okay. That's all
Good,
right.
good job. But yeah, no, I guess for the namesake though, I just want to check in with you and see how you have been in all of your glory and wonders.
I have been pretty good. I can't complain. I'm trying to do better with feeling good about how things have been going, even if things don't look the way I want them to yet, or even if there are things on the horizon that I haven't reached, but still kind of just appreciating the small wins, the small steps. So in that I say things have been good. Things have definitely been moving forward for sure.
That's good to hear, especially for the season that you've already said you have been in, currently are in, that you just kind of moving forward. What's new in your world?
Uh Potential larger shifts, like from the shifts that we talked about last episode. But
Shaking the table.
no, truly. Looking to pivot professionally,
Okay.
opportunity may be abound. So it's the it's somewhat the new feeling of like, oh, I haven't really like kind of put myself out there and like tested the waters in a long time, especially in a different state. So there's that feeling, but then there's also the feeling of if this does happen, or when it does happen, wherever it happens, this this uprooting, this upheaval of what I know life to be, is going to be it's gonna be a doozy. But trying not to be, I don't fear it, but I guess just trying not to be as anxious about it. But that's the newest thing, is that feels like something that's really on the horizon in terms of me finding an opportunity like to pivot. So I guess just kind of preparing for what I'm asking for, really.
This might be bad advice, but lean into the anxiety of that. I mean, I say that as somebody with anxiety, but lean into the anxiety of it because I feel like you not wanting to give into that anxiety can make you more anxious. So you're gonna be anxious regardless. Just like lean into it, and you said it's gonna be a doozy. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It's definitely gonna be uprooting and unsettling, but it doesn't have to be a doozy. Because
Mm.
if you lean into that anxiety and turn that into excitement and to say like, oh, I'm looking forward to this as opposed to I need to do this or something like that, like lean into it and see what that's going to be like. But shout out to you to have options on the table when you talk about completely different states. And I won't even say starting over, just extending where you are now in a different place is a wild thing to think about when you haven't done it in a while.
But that's what it feels like. It does feel like starting over. And my original question was going to be, how do you healthily lean into anxiety? Because I understand what you're saying when I hear you say it, but the
Mhm.
the practice of kind of leveraging the anxiety if you have with understanding that you don't want to make it deeper or feel it deeper? How have you been able to do that if you have?
Honestly, I think I'm still trying to figure it out, which is why I said it might be bad advice because I don't know that I have done it or done it successfully, but I know I've at least, yeah, I say I have done. I've tried it. Because I feel like leaning into anxiety, say with the move, I experienced some of the same things. At least yours might be to last conversation more intentional. When I moved back to Chicago, um, that I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have a job. I had a place to stay. I got rid of everything but my clothes, right? So it's just like the anxiety of every day, not knowing what happens next, knowing that I was getting ready to quit, knowing that I had to do these things. I was about to blow up the spot too, because I mean, if you know, you know, but I did have a little whistle blowing moment. It was just a lot of things that I didn't know that was going to happen after that. And I was like, well, I can't plan for it. So I guess I just leaned into knowing that at least I have my mom's house to go back to, and I can create some weird sense of new like stability there. Everything else is still unknown, but I had to latch on to something. So I guess leaning into the anxiety for me was like pinpointing the one thing that made you the most anxious, which for me at the time was the unknown. It's
Mm.
like, well, I can't really do shit about it for real. So it didn't make it necessarily any easier, but it didn't feel suffocating in the same tone, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, and there's an excitement in the opportunity of creating a new crazy.
It's because you got hair pulled up, boy. Your lip
Look,
is loud.
I ain't gonna lie, it is a bit tight. I said I'm gonna make it through the recording.
I know you've been looking surprised this whole time. Your eyebrows been up. You were saying about an opportunity to get you back on track.
Yes, there is excitement in a new opportunity to kind of create a new, not found, well, yeah, it's somewhat of a new foundation, but just create, like you said, stability in a new place. So there's the opportunity for that, which is exciting. I guess I don't know. Part of this probably is due to being in one place for a really long time, but I guess the one thing I've also been super cautious of is not just jumping at things because I know that I'm ready to take the next step or that I'm ready to pivot. I still want to make sure that I'm, I guess, thinking everything through, but more so just making the best decision for me and not just the first decision or what seems like the
Okay.
easiest decision. So that's been another aspect of it as well. But all in all, I've been trying to be more excited and maybe even lean more into that anxiety than worry about the what ifs or the negatives and try to more so focus on, what if this does really serve as a launching pad, or what if this does work out in whatever capacity that means? So, really just trying to change the mental framework, but it's honestly just a continuation of what I was saying in the last episode for real.
Yeah, and to how you just reframed and rephrased that from the what ifs to what was going to happen next, I think that describes leaning into the anxiety because I think a lot of times, well, I'm gonna just speak for myself. A lot of times my anxious energy is coming from something negative or something from a deficit perspective of something like that. But you can also have good anxiety, like, oh, I'm about to go on this audition, or oh, I'm about to get this that I want, or something good is about to happen, or you find out that you just got a big check coming in. Like a lot of things can happen from that in a positive way. So maybe reframing that language on what you said, like the what ifs are all the bad things, but you'd be like, but this could happen. Like this is the positive side of it. And maybe flip the anxiety positively. But again, that's not something that I have done a whole lot. But hearing you say that, I went through that transition some moons ago, but it wasn't easy. So I mean anything I can do to help support by all means, because it is a hell of a ride. Good and bad, but a hell of a ride nonetheless.
I think honestly, I think I'm just getting to the place in life where I don't know, maybe you can give a better analogy to this just because I feel like you recognized it much sooner. At least it seems, could be wrong, but I think I'm just getting to the point where I'm enjoying or I'm accepting the fact that the ride is the ride. Meaning that I think a lot of times, I don't know how other people do it, but you have this consistently evolving perspective of what life is, what it should consist of, how it should look. It looks different or feels different for you, obviously, in different stages. And I think I'm reaching the place where it's like the ups and downs are truly like there's only so much you can do, right? And ups and downs don't have to literally be good and bad. Like there's so many situations where things could be great, but it's a lot to maintain how great things are. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, but it could be a down in the sense of you're not comfortable or you don't necessarily feel relaxed even though things are going well, which could be considered
Mhm.
an up. So I think I'm just entering the phase where I'm accepting that. So I kind of attribute everything to ebbs and flows as opposed to feeling like every valley is kind of like a mistake or every valley is a setback or something that means I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or that I'm not supposed to be in a particular place. So I feel like acceptance kind of summarizes all of
Mhm.
that, but I think I'm just entering that phase where that makes sense and I don't have to force myself to accept it. It's coming a bit more naturally, so I feel like my perspective is just changing on a lot of things.
That's really good to hear, to feel, but also for me to see from you. But I'm curious to know, how do you feel like you're breathing right now? Given all of that, you say like this like new stage or whatever of kind of acceptance. How you feel like you're breathing?
Like in general, like literal breathing.
Or figuratively, yeah.
Um, I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Like, so you talk about acceptance and where you are in life is this kind of almost ease of transition, like this makes sense for you. But we was just talking about being anxious of like what's on the other side. So I'm trying to figure out, how are you breathing figuratively right now? Do you feel like at ease with this transition, but just the unknown is coming up? Or do you feel the opposite of that?
I don't know if it's the opposite. Uh, there's a there's a piece about it. There's a piece about it in terms of the acceptance, but there's not so much at ease because I feel myself feeling the pressure of not wanting to get it wrong, not wanting to fuck it up. Excuse my French, but I like we all joke about the like f around and find out. I don't want to f around and find out the bad side. I don't want to do that. Now, granted, you can always look at the other end and say, well, f around and find out about something positive. But I think my uneasiness comes from a pressure of maybe, I guess, age. Because for me, I just feel like I'm in the last days of like not having second chances, but I'm in the last days of like not having a plan, not having a like somewhat set trajectory going upward. I feel like I've been at a plateau for a really long time. And I think sometimes within your 20s, you have room to kind of plateau. Like you still have this time to figure things out. And granted, yes, like you always have time to try new things and to go different directions in your life, but I think in terms of stability, especially if I'm looking at the type of life I want to build, the family I want to have a certain sense of foundation. And I somewhat feel like I'm on a clock for having that foundation set. Maybe that's just for my internal and personal timeline, but that's more so where the uneasiness and the pressure sets in to answer the question.
That made me think of something else. The kind of extending from that, you talked about your family and things like that. What does legacy look like for you? Because
That
we
is,
talk
yeah.
about the unknown, right? And you have no idea what's there, but like the unknown with intention is legacy. That's what I was trying to say. The unknown with intention is legacy because it's an aspirational view of the unknown. So what do you want your legacy to be if you accept in this early phase of wherever you are now, like you're not in school, you're not on that typical schedule that most of us are, that timeline. you get to break away from that. Who are you later down the line?
Mm, mm. Uh, Successful entrepreneur. For me, it would be successful father, husband. Um, in a weird way, that's kind of it. I feel like a lot of things extend from those three roles,
Hmm.
but I feel like those are the main three. Like that's what I do and who I'd be doing it for. So that would kind of be the hub of whatever other extensions come from my life. But that's the legacy. I mean, there's an aspect of carrying on legacies that I feel like have somewhat been passed down to me. But at the end of the day,
Hmm.
I guess it's kind of understanding that at some point, if I'm considered the head, what's left from just me, and I think that that's where I would want to start, especially considering relationship I have with my own father. It's like it's not the worst in the world, but I wouldn't want my son or daughter to feel how I felt just in terms of being misunderstood and things of that nature, or just not being supported. And yeah, I'm at a better place with that now, but I know how much I struggled and why it took me so long to kind of get to a certain place. And I just wouldn't want to, put my children through that. So that avoiding that or just being a better version of what I've seen would be a success in that sense. But yeah, that would be the legacy aspect. Do you feel like if you taken the torch in your family? And so when I look at you, I think about the relationship with your mom and I think about like your relationship with your niece and nephew, but then
Hmm.
also certain things you've said in regards to what you feel like your future looks like, and things that you see and don't see in your future. And what does that look like for you in regards to what it may mean to kind of take the torch in your family? Or is that even how your family is kind of operated, if that makes sense? Even in the immediate family, like for me, I I mean, seeing as I was the only male in my immediate family, as especially as me, my sister, and my cousins get older, there is a sense of responsibility. Like I'm not the oldest, but I am the man. So there is like, I mean, second oldest, but that's not really important. But but there is that sense of responsibility there, and a sense of like, yeah, that is my family that I'm supposed to take care of. But yeah, that's more so what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%. That is me. I assume that role. I think I have been kind of given that role a little bit. That would be me. But I mean, I accept it and I wear it with pride, to be honest with you. But like my sister, because it's just my sister and I. She's carrying on the legacy of the like living humans, right? Like, so we get to live on by the fact that she has my niece and nephew. But I think I won't say everything else because it's not everything else, but somebody asked me this the other day and it was like, where do you see your role in your family? I was like, I think I'm the one that can and will create generational wealth for my family. And that is one thing that I have been so focused on is like my finances, getting those things, like my credit score went up to, oh, I'm finally up there. In full disclosure, I really kind of have been, but now I broke through another little threshold. So shout out to that. But I say all that to say, um, I'm trying to build my nest egg because I think my legacy, in part, in so many ways, will live on. One of them is going to be the financial path that I create for my family and of my immediate family. I'm the one that's kind of slated to do so. So yeah, I carry that torch with pride, but it's me.
That's do you feel do you have any feelings? I guess toward sounds kind of bad, but do you have any feelings toward your family because maybe they just expected that, or is that a mantle that you just took on your own? Like, are there any kind of like hard feelings in regard to it feeling like a pressure, or is it something that I mean, I know that you said you do it with pride, but I guess I'm asking, has there been a pressure aspect to it, or has it just always been something that you've more so confidently walked in?
Hell yeah, it's been pressure. I feel the pressure every day because I do feel solely responsible. Like they're adults in my family. Like my mother's been an adult all her adult life. You know, my sister is 10 years older than me, and she is a fully functional adult and has been all of her adult life. But I do feel like my sister and I, we call each other big little brother or little big sister. I don't know if I got that right, but we switch it because that's just kind of how we are. Like we're 10 years apart. I'm the baby, but in a lot of ways I operate as the oldest, but in a lot of ways she does too. So we got that kind of switch off dynamic. That because of that, I get into big brother mode and I'm very protective of my people, my friends, my family, you in my inner circle. Like I'm very protective of that. So I do give big brother energy. I do give Uncle Don Don energy, like Papa Bear type energy, you know. So I, not knowing how to divorce my thought from that or my being from that, yeah, that it's a lot of pressure to have to keep up with that. But I don't think my family expects it of me. I think they're grateful of it. I don't think that's the immediate expectation because we all help each other out.
Mhm.
But if I look at everybody subjectively across the board, out of the five of us, who would it be? Me. So by default, there's a lot of pressure.
Is there any part of you that feels like you're supposed to prepare your nephew? Or are you just not even thinking about that aspect of it right now?
And my niece.
Mm,
Both of them.
yeah.
I see a lot of myself, well, in both of them. They like really split me in half and was just like,
Yeah.
here, to these kids. I was like, but yeah, I think my niece is 3 years older than my nephew, and she's in high school. So like it's a little different because she got a little more understanding of the world, like still not experienced at 17, you know, but enough to where it's like, okay, I can kind of now see the young adult that you're getting ready to become. I don't know that yet for my nephew. I can see it's still gonna be good, but I mean, at 14, I can't jump ahead and be like, yeah, I see you at 24. I know exactly who you're gonna be because he
Yeah.
has still so much to learn and grow and develop, you know, in that way to catch up to where his sister is. So yeah, I do feel responsible almost solely sometimes to be like, hey, remember you about to get older. We about to learn something. You know, like, yeah, but no, him and my niece both. It's not on him because both of y'all about to be adults. And dare I say, most of the world is occupied by dumbasses, excuse my French. And I refuse for anybody to be attached to my name family and be a dumbass. We don't do that.
No, that's very
Smart.
valid. um I think I anticipate that for my kids. I mean, I it depends on what like my sister wants to do. I don't think she in no rush to have no kids. If you know Leah, you know. So but I don't think it's
Same.
something that she's I don't think it's something that she's against. So I'm not saying it doesn't apply, but I just it still feels so far away from me for like that preparing somebody else aspect, which I also think is why I'm very much like this time is so important because there will come a time where my responsibility and my mission and my goal now is
Valid.
to take care of somebody else and then start to prepare them like once they're ready. So in my mind, it's like I only have so much time to in essence get my shit together, you know. And granted, there's grace with that, of course, but there's still this idea of like I just want to have as much as possible, as much as I can possibly control set. I know that in retrospect is not a lot, but I just don't want to feel like there are things that I'm behind the eight ball on that I very much could have been prepared for. And maybe that's not a fair pressure to put on oneself. But that's just kind of the reality of how I've been trying to navigate and things I've been trying to unlearn as well.
You missed a crucial word in what you said that will completely change that to make sense. Like you don't need to have things set because that's impossible. However, you do need to have things set up, and that's completely different.
Mm,
Like going through what you're doing right now and preparing yourself, as you say, you are setting yourself up. You need the foundation right there, but you can't set something like for the future. Like time is not something you can control. Okay, you can do nothing like Doctor Strange. You look like Keith Lee. Okay,
But you,
but
but you did. If I go get my crystal, you gonna say I look like Doctor
oh yeah,
Strange.
you had that little green crystal on. Okay, you on to something, Erica Badu. Um,
Name is Steven. What can I say? You know, what can I say?
see you next lifetime then. No, but that you can't have things set because you just don't know. The future is so unknown. Like you can't even see into it, right? But you can have those things set up. So change that and you be good.
Yeah,
You will be better in your transition. Let me say that.
that's real. That's real. Definitely can be the last question, but we legacy became the theme of the conversation, which I think makes sense because even with where I started in answering, I think a lot of that has to do with legacy. I know even for me personally, just like being in Colombia as long as I've been, right? Like I don't have any feelings about like, it's been too long, but there is a sense of like it's time. Like there just comes a time when it's like it's my time here is expired. I wasn't in a rush, but the time is up. You know what I'm saying? But
Insert parents. It's time.
hey, if I can find that GIF, I'm definitely gonna put it in here in the
I'll
episode.
send it to you.
Please.
I got a folder, Alia, actually.
Um,
It's must be kind of weird.
yeah, no, we definitely gotta go. Gotta go through that soon. But the last question was gonna be how do you define legacy for you? I know you asked me like what it looks like or what I see it as, but how do
Mhm.
you define legacy and what plays a role in it? Like what is the man aspect of legacy for you? What is the protector aspect of legacy for you? What are like the different layers of it as well? That's kind of the parts of the question that I want to know.
It's funny because sounds like a very serious question, and my answer is going to be like the antithesis to that. But legacy to me is on some Game of Thrones shit. Like I look at my family as the house of. I mean, you got to hyphenate us because we got different last names, like to the culture. But it's really on some Game of Thrones. Like this is my house, and everything about it, like the land knows, the people know around it. Like it has a reach. The people in King's Landing, everybody knew about. I mean, like
Yeah.
the top family we out here. You knew a little bit about the North. You knew who was on the wall, but like those names carried weight. Those lives lived on through whether they had kids or not, or just their energy, their spirit that continues. So, minus all of the real bad stuff that came out of Game of Thrones, like my name, my family, my brand is the Iron Throne at the end of the day. So all those little swords that was melted onto it or whatever, like those things were the people that came before them. That's what I think legacy is in a visual aspect because it's what is carried over after you are gone. That doesn't have to be big, right? It's just all about an impact. Like if you had an impact on one person, my legacy will live on through you from just checking in, right? We are out on the internet for forever and ever at this point until the world ends. But that impact, big or small, is what it is. I would like to have a big impact. I think I've had a big impact. I will have a larger one. And I think I'm deserving of it. Just to pat myself on the back, the things that I want to do in my legacy are going to live on through all the lives I've touched. I've been in the classroom, I have family, friends, all of those things to continue to go on. So that investment for me into somebody else or something is what legacy looks like, but through the eyes of Game of Thrones.
No, that's real. That's a really good analogy and a great visualization of legacy. I don't want to ask the question because I don't want to like continue down the rabbit hole. Um, does legacy feel does legacy feel like pressure to you? Like understanding that is something that is more so seen when you're gone. Do you still feel the pressure to plant the seeds?
No, that's a simple question. You can call it confident, you can call it cocky. But no, I don't feel the pressure because I know my legacy will continue and I know my legacy is going to be great. My hang up is the time that I want to rush it because I want to experience my legacy, and that's
Mm,
not how legacy works. So I kind of get hell bent on, oh, let me get this, and oh, I want to invest in this, and I want to buy you a house, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. I still can and will do those things. But if I'm talking about legacy, it's not for my enjoyment, it's not for my pleasure, and it's not for me to see. Those are the things to the point I was telling you that I'm setting up. So everybody else will be set. I won't get to experience the fruits of my labor in that way. I'm enjoying life now, yes, but it's different because legacy is not meant for you.
mm. Yeah, yeah. That's how we got to end it. That was a bar. That was a, I ain't gonna hold you.
I've never answered the question.
Yes, and I admire to be like you one day in that aspect. I really do. And this is another episode of Just Checking In podcast. You can catch us on this and next time. That's how I be talking.
Yes. What would you get us? Rate this real quick and let's end it.
Let's see. Great conversation, great topics, great vulnerability, great transparency. 9.5 out of 10.
There you have it, folks.
And until the next episode of the Just Checking In podcast, we'll catch y'all next week. Peace.